I made this canopy when I worked on the backhoe. I modified it today to cover this table, which is 2-barrel and piece of metal. This used to be a door. I have this pile of scrap angle iron. I'm going to build shelf for the shipping container. I cut all the scrap angle iron that was here. I only kept the straight pieces and I spliced them. I made 16 angle, more than 16 feet long. Some of them I had to splice twice. Like this angle over here. There's one splice. There's another one, but they straight. I have to ground all these old angles to remove the old paint and rust. Some of them, they have rust on them. What I did, I clamped these two angles like this. And now I could insert the angle, ground it on this side, and then ground it on the other side. I already ground the inside. I just set them on the table like this and did these two faces. I'll show you. It's very simple and easy. I cut a 90 on both ends and I cut them to length. They're all the exact same length. And I ground them inside. I just need to ground this face and this face. I have all the metal ready to go cut and grounded. I got inside the shipping container and I took measurement and I grounded where I'm going to weld the shelves on the wall. I also made these two jigs so I could clamp the angles that are gonna go horizontally. This way minimize the use of tape measure and make the job go quicker. They both exactly the same dimension, and I'll show you in the next clip how I'm going to use them. I mounted the first two angles. I used those two jigs I made. I kept this one stationary and I kept moving the one on the other side. When I finished weld it in place, then I move it and kept doing this way. The wall is not perfectly level or straight. What I end up doing, I welded this angle over here to the right length so I could wedge the angle between this wall and the angle over here to push it outside so I could weld it right on the wall. And when I release that wedging angle, the wall kind of came back, so now it's straight. If I look at the angle, it's straight. These bottom shelves, they are about 18-inch apart. This one over here gonna be tall shelf, so I could store long objects. And I still have to weld an angle over there. It's gonna be spaced about 16 inches. So that's gonna give me 15 storage spaces, the floor and these 4 shelves. Over here on the corner, as you see, the wall is damaged and there's about 3/4 inch gap. I'm gonna have to do something to fix this. When I was adjusting this, I kept adjusting in and out, and I kept checking it with this angle until it got perfect. I'm not going by level or tri-square or framing square. I'm just go based on the distance from the floor to each shelf, and that's what these jigs for. And then I'm going by the squareness of this wall to that wall. I tried to use the long angle that went over there to push the top angle against the container wall. I couldn't do it, and this is what I came up with. I'm just using this short piece of angle, and I use that U-bolt. They have one every 3 feet at the top. And I use the C-clamp to push against this angle, and that's force this angle on top to go against the wall. It's very tight. I'm gonna go ahead and finish tack the top piece. I'm splicing these two angles together. It's very important to ground them like this So when you fill them with weld, you could ground them flat. I use the table as straight edge, and I clamp both angles to the table, and I look from one end to make sure it's straight, and it is. I will tack it in 3 places, and then I will weld it from this side, wait for it to cool a little bit, take the clamp and finish welding it. This way it will not warp, it will stay straight, and then when I ground it, it will be flat. I installed these runners, they welded in place. I used my jigs at both ends and everything welded now. I'm going to leave the jig at this end because there's nothing attached to it. I will remove the one on the wall because this is over here strong. It doesn't require any more support. I'm going to remove the jig to where I'm gonna weld the legs so they will be spaced perfectly. This part over here, it's steel. This part over here is wood. So I'm gonna have 2 legs gonna be resting on wood. What I did, I cut this sheet metal. It's 8-inch sheet metal, and it's gonna be between the wood and the angle to distribute the weight on the plywood so the angle will not damage the wood. The legs, the top part, I cut it to 45 degrees. So when I weld it in place over here, it's not going to have sharp angle where it could cut you if you try to push the stuff on the top shelf. I will remove the jig, bring it here to where I going to weld this leg and make sure everything level. Then I will clamp this to the angle and then weld everything together. This will remove this flimsiness once this welded in place. The one resting on steel, I'm going to go ahead and weld the angle to the steel. I remove the jig from that side and mount it here in the middle so these angles now space perfectly. I clamp the jig to this angle. I mark these 2 rails, this one and this one, 7 feet from the end. everything square and look good. I eyeball this angle to this over here and to the window. It looked perfect. So I'm ready to run the generator and weld this angle in place. All these angles, they're resting on the jig, so I know they space perfectly, and I'm ready to go. I finished welding the frames for the shelves and they came out very strong. I really like them. I made them 25-inch deep and this weighs 16 feet, 2 inches and 3/8. This is scrap metal. I had to supply sponge of them, and I cut them to the shortest piece after I splice them. So they're all the same length, 16 feet, 2 inches and 3/8. When I welded the legs, I made sure to weld this one right above a metal rib that's going under the floor, so these will be able to carry a lot of weight without damaging the wood. I also welded a sheet metal over here to distribute the weight on the plywood so the angle doesn't damage the plywood. The back angle over here, it's already sitting on metal, and it's happened to be right under brace under the floor. So these also, they're very strong. The frame in general is very strong. I'll be able to put a lot of weight. This side over here, I was able to weld the angle to the wall of the shipping container. Immediately after I finished weld inside, I went outside, removed all the perm paint, and I primed it so it doesn't rust from the outside. They braced all the way. I also welded some flat stock over here to prevent them from expanding once I put load on them. I already installed 4 windows. There's a lot of ventilation inside the shipping container, but still maintain heat, especially from the ceiling. So I'm going to add more ventilation in the back. Luckily, I found these 3 control door panels. They are exactly the same material I used to build the 4 windows on the side of the shipping container, 2 on this side and 2 on this side. I'm going to build one, but I have to build it narrower than the one on the side. The one on the side, they measure a 23 3/4 inch across. The back wall between the ribs, it's only 23 and a half, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so I could weld over here without weld it on the angle. To make it look nice, and also I could weld it easier from the inside and from the outside. I'm also going to build, I still have some scrap angle. I'm going to build more shelves in the back wall, but they're going to be narrower than this shelf. So I only store stuff that I use more often or smaller material. Other than that, these came real nice. They're very strong. I will add wood to them, and then I will start organize all my stuff on them. This part over here and back is going to be storage for items that I could put on the shelf. I made them different height so I could store material at different height. I'm gonna go wire brush it from the outside and then I will paint it. I welded this angle and I used it to support this window to be able to mark it easy, and then I cut it and welded. I had to straight this part over here. It was bowed inside. I beat it with the hammer and I still have to do just a little bit. I will do it later. It's got dark. I'm waiting for the primer to dry and I'm gonna square some great stuff over here to seal it. I will show you why in a second. The side walls, they're about 1.5 inches, 1 5/8 thick. So the window over here is sticking further than the wall by about 5/8 of inch. The back wall is 2 inch thick, so it's a flush with the window. Rainwater will get inside here and get inside the container. So I'm going to spray some foam, and later on I'll grind it a little bit with a wire brush and fill it with Bondo. Other than that, it looks real nice. Thank you for watching and thank you for your support. Stay tuned for more videos.